Hey guys, what is going on? My name is Thomas Spark. Welcome back to another video. Looks like yet another guy on YouTube is trying to make their own VPN tier list, acting like they've never heard of my VPN tier list, which is at vpntierlist.com. I was the first and I still am the only YouTuber making objective data-driven tier lists for VPNs and other things as well. You can see all the ratings here on the chart. Unlike all these other people, I have reviewed each individual VPN. I rate the VPNs by the data, feature sets, and these has been iterated on for around 6 years or so, or even longer. I started doing videos like this in 2016. The tier list was born around 2018. So around 6 years for the tier list, 8 years of VPN reviews. But why am I talking about this? Well, another YouTuber called Chris Titus has made his own VPN tier list, and I gotta say, this one is pretty bad. Why is it bad? Well, I'm not going to watch his entire video. I've kind of skipped around and paid attention to some parts. But the general gist of it is it's very odd. Why is it odd? Are you guys ever worried about getting doxxed? I know I am, and that's why I use a service like Incogni to make sure no one can find my IRL information if they find my name. A service like Incogni goes through all the available data brokers out there like white pages and these different websites. It will tell these websites to remove your information and it saves you tons of time. Use my link in the description down below to get 50% off Incogni as you see here on this website to get this deal. This is my top rated data broker removal tool. It's around half the price of competing services like Delete Me and it has a better interface to boot. So thanks for checking out this one and let's get back to the video. Well, if you look carefully here in the best column, he puts OpenVPN and WireGuard. He kind of has a weird differentiation between first party or third party or something like that, which is odd because WireGuard and OpenVPN aren't really VPNs. They're not first party or third party or anything like that. They're just protocols. And this guy doesn't really seem to understand that. In this certain part of a video, he kind of talks about how you could set up your own VPN. It's so easy and everything like that, and businesses do that and so on. But he's kind of missing the point. People aren't using VPNs, spitting up their own VPN for the same purpose of using these corporate VPNs. Now, the reason people use corporate VPNs is to hide your torrent IP address, to unblock streamer content, to get a new IP. If you use these protocols, if you use these VPN protocol technology, let's say on your computer, you set up a WireGuard server, you connect to it, you're going to have your same IP address when you browse the internet. This isn't really anonymous at all. And in fact, the only thing you're doing is encrypting your internet traffic. But when you go to websites, they're still going to see the same IP address. So I don't really know why he's telling people to do that. It's kind of a popular thing within the tech community for people to be like, hey, go make your own VPS. Use my Lino description my Lino link in the description down below and make your own WireGuard server in the cloud. And then anytime you download torrents, you're going to be sending the copyright agencies your Linode account IP address, and then they're going to send you a DMCA or something like that. So there's really not really much reason to do that unless you're kind of trying to make your own network to remote in to view your network or something like that. That's really the only reason I see people doing this kind of thing, using WireGuard and OpenVPN at your own home network, is to remote in. That's basically what it is. It lets you connect into a remote server from a different location. So, and that's pretty complicated to set up. He doesn't really talk about that in here detail, but it's very complicated to set up, and I wouldn't recommend it for most people except for power users, especially people who are comfortable with Linux and stuff like that. They can do it, but anyone else, the normal layman who wants to use a VPN to torrent, unblock geo restrictions, all these things, they're not going to want to mess with these things. So he kind of goes on the tier list where he talks about all this corporate garbage. He doesn't really talk about anything besides his jurisdiction. In fact, he puts TorGuard and TunnelBear in the same tier, which is pretty laughable considering TunnelBear hasn't really been doing anything for around 6 years, and everyone in the VPN community kind of knows that. In fact, they got bought out by multiple different companies at multiple different times, and he places TorGuard in the same tier simply because it's based in the United States. Now, pay careful attention to this next segment. He rates TorGuard in this tier for some reason. I don't really know why he doesn't rate it in this tier. He doesn't specify it in the video. He rates it here because it's part of the 5 eyes. And then he goes on to say you shouldn't use a VPN based in the 14 eyes. And then he goes on to rate Movad, which is in Sweden, based in the 14 eyes, in one of the best VPN pretty much. He rates it there. So yeah, this guy doesn't seem to be the smartest when it comes to VPNs.
And then we also have TorGuard out of the US of A. Yeah. I would not trust either one of these. And also these are in the Five Eyes country. So if you aren't familiar with how a lot of surveillance, especially from a government level, works, all internet traffic is basically looked at, and all of it's filtered through like NSA and other government agencies. Johnny Harris did a great video kind of explaining how they capture all the data from the internet and able to comb through it for surveillance purposes. And it's really neat to kind of see how that works. But that's why you never should trust a VPN provider really in a major like Five Eyes country, even a 14 Eyes country. I think they all have packs to basically share their data. A VPN that does respect privacy, I think Molvad from Sweden, they actually have really good laws, and then Proton VPN from Switzerland, both that also has a really good privacy law.
This is one of those guys that thinks you should choose a VPN based on where the jurisdiction is. He seems pretty biased in this, and he only seems to trust Molvad and Proton VPN because they're based in respectively Sweden and Switzerland, although he doesn't really seem to understand that Sweden is part of the 14 Eyes, and if you don't trust TorGuard, you're not going to be able to trust Molvad either, since if your logic is you're choosing a VPN based on the jurisdiction, you shouldn't use any VPN in the 14 Eyes. The funny thing is, if he's considering jurisdiction, a lot of these other VPNs like NordVPN, Surfshark, and some of these other ones are actually safely based in places like Panama or the British Virgin Islands, which are offshore locations and give them a lot more legal immunity. That said, at the end of the day, most people nowadays kind of understand that when it comes to VPNs, you shouldn't choose it based on the jurisdiction. That's because if you're using a VPN to commit some serious crimes, it doesn't really matter where you are or what you are doing with a VPN. That's not really the right reason to use VPNs. Use it for torrenting, use it for blocking jurisdictions, these kind of things, and you should be okay. But if you're really trying to do something illegal, that's when people use stuff like Tor. No one really should be using VPN for those reasons. If you're really that worried about a spy agency in any of these countries, chances are you're not going to be using any of these VPNs here, especially not your own WireGuard service on your computer with your own IP address. Not only that, but Proton has had its own fair share of its use with its email services and various things, with French activists kind of getting in trouble and Proton having to give away some information to other authorities. And Molvad has removed port forwarding, probably because they're worried about people sharing content on their services and they don't want to have to deal with the legal framework around that. So both of these services, well, Molvad has been cucked, and Proton has had its issues with its email services, although not directly related to VPN. At the end of the day, Proton is not a bad choice, but the entire formulation of this framework, his tier list itself, is very problematic. You shouldn't be choosing a VPN purely based on the jurisdiction. You should choose a VPN based on qualified features they have as outlined here. The main crux of his video, well, at least a lot of the crux, is that you can't really trust any of these VPNs because they like affiliates and sponsorship programs. Now, it's true, a lot of products on YouTube are overly shielded, stuff like Raycon and those kind of products. But at the end of the day, these companies have figured out a smart way to make money, smart ways to develop partnerships with people, and they have put those resources into developing really good products. 6 years ago, I wouldn't have been recommending Nord or Surfshark or any of these VPNs to anyone. But nowadays, a couple of VPNs have gotten really good. Surfshark, NordVPN. Is ExpressVPN worth using? No. Is private internet access? Well, it's okay. Is, CyberGhost or some of these other ones worth using, like IPVanish? No, hell no. Lumping them in all the same tier, though, just shows you haven't actually reviewed and tested these products like I have. Not only that, but Atlas VPN, it shouldn't even be on this because it's kind of closed down. So yeah. Anyways, guys, that's just my thoughts on this one. This guy just clearly wants to make a tier list to kind of get the term on his SEO for some reason. He even goes so far as to say that he thinks people are going to sue him for making this video, some of the VPN providers, maybe because he's kind of spewing a lot of misinformation when it comes to some of these VPN providers. But anyways, guys, that's just my thoughts and opinions, though. Let me know what you think in the comments down below.